Well, hello there again, my young friends. It's Mr. Johnson coming to you here from Westlake High School here in Johnsonland in classroom 408. Ready to finish Act 4. Kind of in it to win it at this point as we are getting very near the end of this, hopefully, somewhat enjoyable story, William Shakespeare's Hamlet. We are picking up on page 90. We're kind of in the middle of the scene. Act 4, scene 5, right in the middle of the scene in page 90. The last thing really we had marked from the previous video or class was, "O thou vile king, give me my father." Laertes comes in completely beside himself, angry over the death of his father. In fact, he shows up with soldiers and whatnot as he's come in to Denmark and up to the castle. These commoners, the people, are chanting for him to go in and kill the king and take over. Laertes shall be king, Laertes shall be king. And he comes up to the king, he puts his sword into the king's face, into his chest really, and says, "You evil king, where's my father? Thou vile king, give me my father." Of course, Polonius, his father, has already been buried before anybody could even have a ceremony. So the king says, a couple lines after that on page 90, "What is the cause, Laertes? Thy rebellion looks so giant-like." Maybe mark that. "Why are you so angry that you're in my face with a sword yelling at me?" Last two lines on page 90 and the first line on page 91. Maybe mark those lines. "I dare damnation. To this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence. Let come what comes, only I will be revenged." Laertes basically proclaims he's getting revenge, even if he gets damned for it. Basically, even if he has to go to hell for it. He's going to kill somebody. He wants revenge for his father's death. Around the middle of page 91, Claudius claims he is guiltless. It's not his fault, of course. You know he wants to push the blame toward Hamlet. And at the bottom of that page, back onto the stage, back into the scene comes Ophelia. We saw her in the previous scene, kind of just walking around aimlessly singing, not making a whole lot of sense. And when she comes in, enter Ophelia, bottom of page 91, Laertes says, "Oh, heat, dry up my brains." A couple of lines down, it says, "Oh, heaven, is it possible a young maid's wits should be as mortal as an old man's life?" Mortal, died. Her wits have died. Her mind has died. He can tell just by looking at her that she is in madness, that she has lost her sanity. And it's very tragic. It's very sad. Over on page 92, I suggest you mark, beginning with "There's Rosemary." It's about 7-8 lines down. I would go ahead and mark that entire passage all the way to the word "end." It's about 9 lines and one word, where she's walking around and she believes that she is at her father's funeral. So as she's walking around saying the names of flowers, she thinks she's passing out flowers to the funeral attenders, the people standing in the room. When in actuality, usually when you see this produced in a movie or on stage, she usually has like sticks or twigs. Thinking she's handing out flowers, she's just handing people, twigs and sticks and things. She says there's rosemary, that's for remembrance. And next line she says there's pansies. A couple lines later she says there's fennel, there's columbine, there's rue, there's a daisy, there's violets. In fact, when she hands something to the king, she tells him he must wear his rue with a difference. He must put it in his crown. And it's tragic, it's heartbreaking for Laertes especially, but really for everyone there, that Ophelia has completely lost her mind and believes that she is at the funeral. In fact, maybe mark where she's singing, will not come again. It's a version of saying will he not come again? And will he not come again? No, he is dead. Go to thy deathbed, he never will come again. She seems to believe she is at the funeral, singing a funeral dirge, singing a song for the deceased. And at the end she says, "God be with you," and just leaves. It's like saying, "Oh, amen." She believes that the funeral has ended and now they're just leaving this church she thinks she's in, but really she's just standing there in the castle. Obviously, this devastates Laertes. He's crushed that his sister has lost her mind. Top page 93, kind of a minor thing maybe, but the king says to Laertes, "Go," and Laertes is very distraught at this moment. He's very easy to manipulate, really. "Go get the wisest people that you can think of and let them judge between you and me. And if they deem that it's my fault your father died, then I'm out. You can kill me, you can take over my crown, whatever." And Claudius knows that that's he's just manipulating Laertes. And it's easy to do at this point. He's very, very upset. In scene 6, at the bottom of page 93, it's a very short scene. In fact, turn over to page 94. There's a letter that's been sent Uh, from Hamlet, from the ship, he sent it to Horatio. And here Horatio gets this letter. Remember, Hamlet is on his way to England, or was on his way to England, and this letter is going to reveal something different to us. If I were you, I would mark, beginning where it says reads, Horatio is reading aloud the letter Hamlet sent him, I'd mark the first 7 lines and 1 word of that letter. Horatio will now have overlooked this. Give these fellows some means to the king. They have letters for him. He sent letters ahead to Horatio. He sent letters ahead also to Claudius. Everywhere 2 days old at sea, before we were even 2 days at sea, a pirate, a very warlike appointment, gave us chase. They were chased down by a pirate ship. Finding ourselves too slow of sail, we put on a compelled valor, and in the grapple I boarded them while the 2 ships were fighting, the pirate ship and the ship Hamlet was on. Hamlet jumped onto the pirate ship. The instant they got clear of our ship, I became alone their prisoner. I alone became their prisoner, excuse me. They have dealt with me like thieves of mercy. They knew what they did. I'm to do a turn for them. Basically, Hamlet jumped onto the pirate ship, told them who he was. He's a prince. His father, his uncle, stepfather, is the king, and they'll pay a ransom. So he knows that that's what pirates want anyway. They want money. So he sent this letter ahead to Horatio, and Horatio will basically meet him at the coast and be able to pay these pirates off. So basically, because of the pirate ship, Hamlet is not going to England. He is on his way back to Denmark. The last 2 lines of the letter, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hold their course for England. Of them I have much to tell, farewell. So Rosie and Gildy are on their way to England with letters from the King of Denmark to the King of England saying, kill Hamlet. So they have the letters. I don't know what the letters say. They're all sealed up. They have letters, but they don't have Hamlet. Hamlet is on his way back to Denmark, which for our story is important because we're getting toward the end of the play and we need our title character to be with us. Last scene of Act 4 is scene 7, bottom of page 94. Now that Laertes has calmed down a little bit, the last 2 lines on 94, he asks a pretty legitimate question. Why you proceeded not against these feats, so crimeful and capital in nature? Hamlet killed my father, and you haven't killed him, you haven't executed him. You sent him away. That's a valid question. How does someone kill my father and not have to pay any price for it? At top of page 95, basically Claudius answers Hamlet 2 special reasons, which they may seem insinuate, but to me they're strong. The queen his mother lived by, so looks I couldn't just kill him because I love her and she loves him. If I were to just execute him, that would be bad for me as far as my relationship with her. But secondly, the other motive, a couple lines down, the other motive why to a public count I might not go is the great love the general gender bear him. The commoners, the general gender, the people of Denmark love Hamlet. So I couldn't just execute him for killing your father, or that would hurt me in their favor. It would hurt me politically. I would lose their support. So I found a way to kind of get him out of town and take care of that there. While this is happening, bottom of page 95, a messenger comes in, gives Claudius the letter from Hamlet. The letter is read for you there at top page 96. Basically, it's just Hamlet tells Claudius he is on his way back. He has nothing. He's on his way back to Denmark instead of going all the way to England. This sets Claudius to thinking of a specific plan on how to deal with Hamlet. And he knows he's got Laertes now kind of on his side because Laertes is angry that Hamlet has killed his father. So at the bottom of page 96, if I were you, I would mark the last 6-7 lines or so, starting with "and for his death." The king says to Laertes, I have a plan to get Hamlet dead. And for his death, no wind of blame shall breathe, but even his mother shall uncharge the practice and call it an accident. Basically, I have a plan where you go along with it. I have a way we can kill Hamlet and make it look like just a complete accident. And Laertes' response, my lord, I will be ruled, the rather if you could devise it so I might be the organ. Yes, I'll go along with your plan, as long as you let me be the one to kill him. So in Claudius's attempt to manipulate Laertes to get rid of Hamlet, this seems like a good idea for him to be able to set something up and make it look like an accident. And Laertes is all in. On page 97, there's a lot of talk about a Norman called Lamord. Remember, Laertes has been in France. And here recently, someone has come through from France, from Normandy, France, and has been bragging about how good Laertes is with a sword. So this sets Claudius thinking of a good plan on how to fight Hamlet, to have a way to get rid of him. Top page 98, it mentions that Hamlet had heard this Lamord person talking about how good Laertes is with a sword, and he was kind of jealous, and he was envious, it says, in Venom with Envy at the top, page 98. Hamlet was jealous of all this talk about how good you are, and he couldn't wait to have a chance to have swordplay with you. It's a fencing is what it is, if you've ever seen. It's not like a full sword, it's like these rods, but you fence with one another. There's typically a little button on the tip to where it couldn't actually penetrate your skin, but if you get a touch, it would be like a point if you're trying to fence, if you're trying to fight with somebody for game, for sport. Man, this idea of Hamlet was so jealous of talking about how great you were at fencing, then we could set up a chance for you to fence with him, and Laertes is down with this. He's all in on it. Bottom page 98, Claudius just kind of twists his manipulation a little. Did you really love your father, Laertes, or is all this a show? You come in talking about you're going to get revenge, even if you have to go to hell, whatever. And Laertes is like, no, I want revenge. I'd cut his throat at the church, he says. And Claudius is like, oh, okay, you are in. You're ready to do this thing. So what we have given to us at the top of page 99 is a pretty detailed plan to murder Hamlet. The plan is kind of in three parts. Where I would mark the first 2.5 lines. He will not peruse the foils, so that with ease or with a little shuffling, you may choose a sword unbaited. And the first part of the plan is an unblunted sword. Typically, you would have that little tip to where it couldn't penetrate. Let's set a sword in there, let's set a foil in there to where it doesn't have the tip on it, to where you can accidentally puncture him and hurt him. The next thing you see marked there is Laertes says, and for that purpose I'll anoint my sword, and maybe go down to the bottom of his little speech, the last 2.5 lines. That is, but scratch withal, I'll touch my point with this contagion, that if I gall him slightly, it may be death. Laertes suggests, let's take the tip of that foil that I'm going to touch him with and poison it. We'll dip it in some heavy poison, some really strong poison, to where, swordplay, you're just trying to get a touch. In this kind of fighting, and even if I just scratch him with it and not even necessarily penetrate and like get him in the heart or something, get a little poison in his bloodstream, he won't even know it's there because my sword was dipped in poison. Then he's fighting, poison his bloodstream, and he would fall out and die, and that way we would get him dead. And it just really looked like an accident because it's 1601 Denmark. If he had a heart attack or something, if it looked like a heart attack, people wouldn't really question that or something. So let's get rid of him that way. If you go down to the bottom, the last 6 lines of the king's speech, when in your motion you're hot and dry, as make your bouts more violent to that end, and calls for a drink, I'll have prepared a chalice for the nonce, whereon but sipping, if he but chance your venom struck, our purpose may hold there. Basically, the king says, let's set some wine to the side, I'll put poison in it. Even if you're not able to get a touch on him with the poison tip sword that you have, when we take a break, I'll invite him over and I'll give him some wine, and we'll have poison in the wine. So one way or the other, either we're able to penetrate, puncture him, get him with a poison tip sword, or put some poison wine in him, and he's out there fighting. He falls out and dies. It really just looks like a tragic accident and whatnot. So it's kind of a threefold plan, the plan that the king has come up with that Laertes is down with. Last page, page 100, is the last page of Act 4. Why don't you mark the first 4 lines on page 100? So fast they follow, your sisters drown, Laertes. Drowned? Oh, where? There is a willow, grows aslant, a brook that shows its hoary leaves, and a glassy stream. I don't know if you're very familiar with geography, but a brook or a stream is a very shallow body of water. How does someone drown in a creek, in a brook? Well, remember Ophelia had thought she was at a funeral, and she was passing out sticks or twigs that she thought were flowers. After she left that funeral, nobody was really watching her. The first time she had left the room when she wasn't in her right mind, Claudius had sent someone with her to watch her. This time when she left, Laertes and everyone, all this palace intrigue of trying to figure out who's going to kill who, I'm going to get my revenge. Nobody paid any attention to her. She left. She goes out to the stream. She's picking flowers right on the side because that's where the soil is very fertile. And the water began to just kind of pull her clothes, her dress, and she just kind of sinks. And because she was not in her right mind, did she just allow herself to drown, or was it a complete accident? It seems like it's suicide, but because she was in madness, how can we really know for sure? So Ophelia has died. we have our second death of a major character in the story. Polonius has died. It was tragic. Hamlet killed him when he was trying to kill Claudius. And now, just in her grief over having lost her father, and really lost her father at the hand of the man that she loves, she just couldn't take it anymore, and she went out to a creek and drowned in a very, very shallow body of water. And that's very questionable. So it's tragic, it's very sad, and that is the end of Act 4. And if Laertes was angry at Hamlet wanting to get revenge for his father, let's even double that now. Now he really wants even more revenge because he can blame Hamlet in his mind if he wants to about the death of Polonius and now the death of Ophelia. That, my friends, is the end of Act 4. I hope that's useful to you as you are getting your first read on if you were absent or if it's just helping your review. We are very much close to the end of this play, almost done, and we only have one act left. I hope you are enjoying it as we get toward the end. Thanks very much for watching and for listening and for reading. Okay, bye.